Hello everyone, and welcome back to Storytime. Today's story prompt comes from username Opposite Werewolf. The prompt reads, "My German Shepherd had to be put down today. We never knew where he came from. Please, write about his adventures." Our first story comes from username Guy Bro Man Dude Person.
I remember before I met Friend. I don't like to remember, but I can. I remember the dark and cold. I remember Mama wouldn't wake up. It was raining. Big men came and put me in a box, then put that box in a bigger mover box. I remember bumping up and down, and the men talking loudly, and the rain hitting the bigger mover box, and loud, angry geese sounds. When the big box opened, they carried me in my little box inside. I was shaking and barking and shrieking and scared. Oh, I was scared. They emptied my box into a bigger box and left me there for days. I got food and water, but people poked and pricked at me. I was scared, and no one could help, and I was lonely, and I missed Mama, and I didn't think I was going to get out. The other dogs were bigger and louder and barked at me through the box walls. That's when I met Friend. He came in and stopped and looked at me. I didn't want him to grab me like the other men did, but he lifted me gently. It reminded me of Mama. I liked him, and I wanted him to stay, but then he walked away, and I barked, and I barked, and I barked, but he didn't hear me. But then he came back. He put me in a big mover box again, but I wasn't in the smaller box, so it wasn't as bad. Then when we got to his inside place, it was the biggest box I had ever seen. I ran all around it, and I was tired by the time I had run around the whole thing. I could jump and run, and Friend was always there to play, or sit on, or protect. He went away a lot when the sun was out, but he was always home after it went down. Some days he was with me the whole day. I was scared of the outside when he first found me, but he made me love it again. The walks and the toys. Oh, the toys. There were so many toys and bones and treats and belly scratches. He let me run free and was always there to go back to. I remember those days. They were my favorite. He even helped me get over my fear of the big mover box. Usually they went to the park. Sometimes they went to the other place. The other place reminded me of where Friend found me. It was all white, and the floor was click, click, click under my paws. It had a big lady with glasses and a white coat. She would poke and prod at me, but Friend was always there, so I wasn't that scared. But all of that seems so long ago. My legs are tired now. The outside seems so much bigger than it did. I can only run for so long now. But Friend still brings me. He brings me my toys too. They still cheer me up. They don't squeak as much, but I don't mind. The outside is starting to hurt. The cold gets through my fur easier. I feel so sorry to Friend. I know he wishes we could still run and play. I try to, for a time, but I don't think I can keep up with him anymore. I wish I could thank him for everything, for getting me out of that box. He made me the luckiest dog in the whole world. He gave me things I didn't think I would ever have. I never felt so lost when my mama went to sleep. I thought no one would ever make sure I was okay. No one would ever be there to protect me. Then, Friend did. I was never able to thank him enough, but I hope he knows. Friend says we're going for a ride soon. He's been taking me to the park more, so that's probably where we're going. I remember once, when I was tiny, we went to the other place, and the woman poked me with a needle. It made me sleep for at least 100 years. I feel like that now, like I could sleep for 100 years. Maybe Friend can bring me back there, so she can give me another poke. I'll be less tired after another 100 years.
Our second story comes from Tensing99. In the day, the cars zoom by, engines roaring, tires screechings. They'd kill you without a second thought. I've seen it happen. The sun beats down, warming your being into a sense of pleasant sleepiness. But this, too, can be dangerous. On some days when you rest, you may wake up to a crowd of teenagers cheering and throwing stones. On others, you may not wake at all, torn between extreme thirst and no strength left to quench it. My best friend and most loyal packmate stopped to rest in a parking lot and woke up with his fur burnt off, skin melted into the hot tar. I barked for help, but none came. So now I sleep in the shade. As dangerous as the day was, I preferred it. I learned to avoid most of the dangers, and made use of the daylight to find food in the trash cans. But at night, the ghouls come out. They walk, staggering from right to left, and drive differently. Worse. Sometimes they carry bottles. Sometimes they throw them. Sometimes they chase me, but slowly and clumsily. The ghouls come out, and they steal from the good men. They burn foul odors into the air and suck it into their chest. In the day, I can sometimes beg food from the good men. At night, I only run from the ghouls. Most of the time, I avoid them, but I've actually encountered them once. It had been a warm day, and I'd salvaged bits of crust from a pizza box in an alleyway. I curled up next to the box to nap, and when I woke, it was dark, and a ghoul stood before me. He was a shorter, older one, who smelled of burger grease and cigarettes. He wore a mask over his head that hid his ears. A gun was tucked into the seat of his pants. He pointed at a passerby and shouted something. They stopped. I felt a growl rising from deep within me. I did not like this ghoul. He turned towards me as I got up from my napping spot and jumped him. His eyes widened as my teeth fastened around his ankles, and a cracking noise, so loud it hurt my ears, came from the metal tube. My back hurt. The ghoul kicked me off and moved up to kick me again, but something flung him back. That was the last thing I saw before I fell asleep. My back no longer hurt. It just felt wet. I woke up on a stone floor with sticky cloth on my back. Someone had fastened a plastic cone around my head and placed bowls of food and water in the corner. I ate. It was good. But I was stuck. It was a small room that served as my prison. It was always daytime, but never warm. I could smell other dogs nearby and hear a few farther out. but all I had was a rug to sleep on and no room to run. Sometimes men would walk by and look at me. Sometimes ghouls would do the same. Once in a while, a man would come and take me out to explore. If I behaved, he'd give me extra food. A long time passed, and the fur grew back on my back. The man came in again and took me outside. He gave my leash to someone I'd never seen before. I smelled him. He smelled okay. He scratched me behind the ears and talked. Then, he took me to his car. That night I slept in the dark, in a new place. I had a bed, a few toys, a throw pillow I took from the couch, and a sock I found behind it. They were better to chew on than the toys. In the morning, the man came back, and we went to the park. I had a family. I was home. Thanks for listening to Storytime. If you like what you heard, please consider liking and subscribing. It really does help. But for now, stay safe out there, everyone. See you next time.